Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and welcome back to another Monday. But it's a different kind of Monday. This Monday, I can sense fall is in the air.
Ooh, I love it.
I'm excited.
So am I.
Joining me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all of our listeners. Well, let's see if I can give you a pretty clever question. Sandy's mom has 4 kids, north, west, and east. What is the name of the 4th child? I've
been seriously sitting here for like 3 minutes pondering this, and I think the name is And.
No.
I don't want to play this game anymore. Is it South?
It's not. Do you give up?
I guess.
It's Sandy. Sandy's mom.
Oh, no. It's early.
It is very early.
Actually, I have no excuse. That's on me.
That's so funny.
Well, moving on from that embarrassment, I am going to give all our new listeners out there a brief rundown of what we do on this channel. Voyse finds stories on Reddit. We talk about them and give our opinions. And we look forward to hearing yours as well.
That's pretty simple. Yeah. Straight to the point. Getting straight to the point once again. Why don't you go ahead and reach over and grab that morning cup of brew? Because I crafted for you something that I think you might enjoy. It has green tea, pineapple, elderberries, mango, and beets.
Oh, that's really good. It takes the slight sting off getting my answer wrong.
I bet you there's probably going to be a ton of people that get it wrong.
I'm the only one.
You're the only one in this entire world.
Sandy.
Well, while you go ahead and enjoy your morning cup of brew, why don't we go ahead and delve into these stories? For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for getting hurt and upset over a harmless prank that my husband pulled? So me and my husband have been married for 5 years. We are currently female 24 and male 33. Way before we met, when I was 16, my mom's house had a house fire that burnt literally everything down, and sadly, my childhood cat was also killed in it. I remember my mom and brother waking me up, screaming, "Fire! Fire! Get up! Get up!" We crawled out under the smoke, and luckily my neighbors had already called the fire department and they pulled us out. We lost literally everything. We were devastated. So that was a while ago, but it still really scares me. And I check outlets and our stove and candles and everything all the time. My husband knows this about me. So 2 nights ago, I went to bed early because I am currently 34 weeks pregnant. Literally about to pop.
Yeah.
I was sleeping for a while before, for some reason, my husband decided to wake me up by yelling, "Baby, there's a fire! Fire, 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 get up!" As quickly as I could get up at 34 weeks, I did and grabbed my purse. I was just in automatic shock and just autopilot and knew I needed what to grab. I made it all the way down the stairs, yelling for my husband to follow me before he started laughing and telling me it was a joke. It took a minute for that to process. I stood there with an open mouth while he laughed and ushered me down the rest of the stairs. I sat down on the couch and just started sobbing. It was genuinely the hardest I've ever sobbed. It's like I couldn't get myself to stop and my whole body was shaking. My heart was racing and I couldn't breathe. I have never had this experience before. I was genuinely so panicked. I was so fucking upset. My husband apologized and was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. It was just a joke." I just cried until he eventually was like, "What the fuck? It was just a prank. This is really dramatic." After a few hours, I had calmed myself down and went to apologize to him. He wouldn't take it. He said I was being overdramatic and made him feel like shit for a harmless prank. So I guess, am I the a-hole? I've never been good at taking jokes. I've been trying to be less sensitive, but I don't know.
What the spicy meatball of frustration and anger I have towards this entire situation. Before I get into all of it, I want to clarify real quick. How old are they? Because that age gap caught me off, but I want to make sure I understand it.
Our OP is 24.
Okay.
And her husband, 33.
And when did this relationship start?
So they've been married for 5 years, but inside the comment section, our OP does say that they've been dating since she was 18.
Okay. So they married a year after they dated when she was 19. I mean, you're consenting adults I'm not upset if people understand what they're getting into, but at 18, she started dating someone that was 27, basically 28. There's a bit of an experience gap there. Everyone's different. You're allowed to pick your partners. So now that I have that cleared up, ROP's husband definitely would understand that this was something that happened to her in the past where she got out of a horrific fire. Thank goodness she was safe. I'm sorry they lost their family pet. That sucks.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of the things a lot of people don't realize is when something drastic like a fire happens, cats generally hide in the closet or in nooks.
You have to go digging for your animals because a lot of them will get scared. But I'm sorry that happened. I'm thankful, though, that everyone else got out. But ROP's husband would know this about her. I understand pranks. I love pranks. You and I pull pranks on each other all the time. It's a lot of fun when I
love hiding in a corner and getting you.
I hate it. I say a lot of fun. But when you get into that, when you get into that mode, you do it.
Nothing makes me happier than hiding someplace new and then hearing you go, Voyse, where are you? I know you're hiding.
It gets scary because you can fit into very small places. Anyway, I get having the fun jokes with each other. But as a partner, you know that there are certain things that you do not cross, especially when you're 33 at this point. That's not even kind of an excuse. And then if you want to put the cherry on top of the shit cake, he does it to her when she's 34 weeks pregnant. For you to pull that on her while she's very, very pregnant, rush her down the steps. Do you understand that you're one slip away? If she's really running for her life and as afraid as she says she is, a mistake could have happened. And then what? It's a joke that she's hurt or that you put your baby's life at risk? And then at the tail end of this whole thing, ROP's husband believes that he's in the right for feeling bad that she can't take a joke. If someone has to tell you you can't take a joke, you need to create space. We're allowed to play jokes on each other, but understand the outcomes to those jokes have to be handled accordingly. If you hurt someone's feelings, you owe them a sincere apology. That's not what she got here. What she got was now, not only did she get the scare of her life, one of them anyway, then she got made to feel like a dumb animal, that she possibly can't understand how to take a joke. Absolutely not. And in fact, you need to sit down with your husband and actually have some real talks, because it sounds like he's immature. And if you don't get that squared away now, I'm shocked at 33 you're even having to get anything like that squared away. But if you're living within that type of relationship, please get into counseling if it's important to you. He does not understand what boundaries look like, especially when we're willing to sit there and say your fear is irrational. That's basically what this got chalked up to. So, OP, you're not the a-hole. Really assess that relationship, though.
The consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. Redditors were saying that this is not a harmless prank, and this is really not a healthy relationship. If anyone is able to flip the script and lay blame on someone else for their own actions, that they clearly can't be held accountable. There's a comment that our OP actually put in the comment section. Our OP says, he doesn't, but it's an often argument that I am too sensitive. I think the word being sensitive can be used both ways. There are a lot of people that I think are sensitive to jokes. And for me, as I think I've said this before, if you're watching a show, a stand-up comedy show, and something strikes you the wrong way, you have the freedom to turn it off. That's their profession. That's kind of what they do. They're supposed to make you laugh at the things that it hits a lot of sensitivities for others. I know I've watched shows where I like the stand-up comedian and they said something and it struck me totally wrong. Rather than, I guess, spew the hate into the world and complain and voice it out like crazy, all I do is turn it off because it's not worth my time at that point. Now, there is completely something different when you're dealing with the sensitivity of a joke when it comes to a stand-up comedian. You can walk out of a show.
That's a stranger.
You can turn off the TV, but you're talking about someone that loves you and knows that you have this traumatic fear that comes from a very real place, who use that on you. And that is absolutely unacceptable. And apparently it happens more than not if you guys have often these arguments.
Well, how sensitive you are with my jokes.
I can't even In my mind, when Redditors were saying, why were you apologizing to him to even begin with? Our OP said, I apologized because he's mad. I'm making a big deal about me making him feel horrible. He should feel horrible.
Yes.
That's the point here. And the fact that he can't see that he's done something that's awful and that you're accepting of it.
Oh, I know he does see it. This is just emotional manipulation. So I said, you need to reassess that relationship.
Let me read one more comment from our OP. Our OP says he's happy. He's the one who wanted a baby. I don't think he is a narcissist, though I'm not sure the definition of that one, LOL. And no, I don't think there are red flags other than what is being pointed out in the comments I am reading. That is mostly that he tries to make me feel sensitive and our ages. But I always knew that and I never cared.
And that's her right.
I put the hard stop at somebody trying to tell you that you're being sensitive about something that you're clearly feeling. But I have to wonder how our OP's husband uses their age against her, because that feels like grooming.
She said nothing else is going on. A lot of the time, it's not one thing wrong. There's a lot of things going on when you flip that rock over. It's just what you've learned to endure, because a lot of people at 18, you don't know what a healthy relationship looks like unless you're one of the lucky ones and have had your parents show you what that looks like. But a lot of people don't know what that looks like. And I'll always believe this and stand by this. You'll get in life what you're willing to accept from people.
That's a very true statement. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about ruining someone's honeymoon. Am I the a-hole for ruining my sister's honeymoon? Mom and I got divorced when my sister Sam and I were 13 and 10. That was 12 years ago. My father was a cheater and still is, on to his fourth marriage. Mom met her boyfriend, G, a year after the divorce, but she kept it a secret and didn't introduce him to us until 2 years later, until she was sure that he was the one. That was the time I have seen my mother the happiest in a relationship. She's always been a happily and bubbly person. Sam hated G with all her might because she loves my father very much, and he was very heartbroken that Mom moved on. He even attempted on his own life. My sister never forgave my mom for it and threatened to cut contact if my mom didn't dump her boyfriend. My mom did. Afterwards, my mom was very depressed and down, but my sister and dad were happy. Then my sister left for college a few months later. I know for a fact that my mom started seeing her boyfriend again a year ago. She's been happy again. My sister got married last weekend. Yesterday, we had a lunch before she and her husband were to leave for their honeymoon. When I arrived, she was a bit down. Apparently, she asked Mom to join us, but Mom declined. So she opened up saying that since Mom dumped her boyfriend, she has been very distant and cold with my sister. Never rude or mean or angry, just cold. If she asked her anything or needed something, Mom would be there for her, like when my sister had severe COVID. But other than that, she never contacted my sister on her own volition. My sister was telling me that maybe Mom never will be happy again because of her ending her relationship. I told her not to worry about it because they are still seeing each other behind our backs, and that Mom seemed very happy. My sister was shocked, and she started yelling in the middle of the restaurant and started trying to call Mom to ask her. Then she called me an a-hole for never telling her before now. She just thought it was a secret that I was hiding, just a private matter, and I thought my sister knew too, because how couldn't she realize that Mom has been happy again and have been going for weekend getaways? My sister is now demanding that Mom would break up with her boyfriend or she would go no contact, and I feel like the a-hole for everything, including miscalculating that my sister still has the same stand. Am I the a-hole? Now, let me just go ahead and provide just a little bit of context here. OP says inside of the comment section that one, while the divorce was underway or while they were kids, both her and her sister went to therapy. Okay. It was just something that I guess her mom wanted to put them through just to make sure that everything transitioned right, especially with what was going on. Additionally, our OP says from the comments, my mom did attend the wedding, but my sister felt like she wasn't really acting like a mother whose daughter is getting married. Thing is, she isn't opposed to mom dating either. That's why I wasn't careful about not telling her. Just that she's back with that specific boyfriend. I don't get it. In another comment, our OP says, that's the problem though. She isn't expecting her to be single forever and was even talking about her maybe needing to meet someone, so she isn't opposed to the notion. That's why I felt more relaxed about telling her about G, because I honestly thought that she knew or at least wouldn't care. Now she is very upset and devastated after my mom's response to her that she is free to go no contact a couple days after her wedding.
Good for mom. You don't get to call the shots in someone else's life. How dare you believe or overstep like that, regardless of if you're the parent or the child. I mean, they're both adults now. You have no right to tell anyone in or outside of your family, personal or professional, no matter what, in any spectrum of your life, you have no right to tell someone who they can and cannot date. How old is the sister at this point? Because I know that divorce happened early.
So our OP says, and this is just calculating now, our OP says that they were 13 and 10 when they got divorced.
Okay.
In the beginning, they said that was 12 years ago. So I'm adding 12 years. That means the older sister is 25 and our OP is 23.
Okay.
Or 22, sorry.
Now I can understand for a lot of parents who get divorced and start getting back into the dating world, they do have to be very careful about, when they do introduce a new partner into the ecosystem. Do your due diligence there, obviously. It sounds like the mother did. She said she went 2 years dating this guy, G, before he ever met the family.
Correct.
Good on your mother for at least trying to take some measure when it came to all of that situation. So why are we judging the mother so harshly when your father is demonstrated for you how you probably shouldn't be going about life and marriage and relationships?
I feel like our OP sister is a daddy's girl to the point where when daddy complained about mom suddenly having a boyfriend, he didn't want somebody else to be happy.
There's a lot of control in that family, and it's very present. I side with the mom in this situation. To let your 13-year-old say, by the way, after you've been dating someone quietly for 2 years, they had no idea of this relationship.
Technically, she would be 15 at the time.
You're right. To give someone that type of power at that point, to veto anything you're doing in your life, set the foundation for what this relationship is today. Because at 25, she's still looking at her mother as if there is ownership. Absolutely one of the most toxic things you can do in a relationship. At that point, if your sister does have a problem with that whole situation, it's okay to talk. You can have your feelings out, but to strong arm someone into going, you either leave him or I go no contact.
Bye.
You're using your relationship as a manipulation tool. So in my opinion, OP, because our OP is the sister looking in on this.
Correct.
What exactly is she asking if she's the a-hole for then?
Is she the a-hole for ruining her sister's honeymoon? Because apparently her sister's now accusing her of ruining the honeymoon.
Because she ousted her mom's relationship to her
But she
accidentally.
didn't think it was.
Yeah. It shouldn't have been. But at the end of the day, as an adult, as a rational adult, you should be able to look at that relationship and understand you have zero to do with that.
Should be and can are two different things.
It is very true.
And this is where I think our OP's sister needs that help.
Definitely. I think the one thing they both need to take into account here, the sisters, and she says it many times, their mom's happy when she's with G.
Oh, yeah. And apparently there's nothing wrong with him. She never said anything wrong with G at all. So clearly there's nothing character-wise. Otherwise, we would be hearing it somewhere in this story.
I'm happy the mom stood up for herself. You don't need people that are that toxic in your life if they're going to use a relationship to get what they want out of you. You're better off going no contact. No differently than how I feel with kids have to do it to their parents. I don't feel any differently when a parent has to do it to their kid.
So the consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. For Redditors, OP's sister is being selfish, and that trying to make someone break up for a scumbag like the cheating father is honestly pretty gross. Also, to be happy when someone is sad or depressed is also a very disgusting trait. Other Redditors were saying that the only one that ruined her sister's honeymoon was herself. And I have to also side with this. If someone says that they are happy, that they got their way, and they know that it is mentally impacting someone that they care about to actually put them to be down and depressed because of this, and you're actively happy about it, you're not a good person. I do not know why anybody would be proud or happy of the misery of someone else.
She probably just looked at G as being the obstacle to her parents getting back together. People are not the obstacle to your parents getting back together. They got a divorce for a reason.
I agree. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about splitting expenses. Am I the a-hole for telling my fiancée she will have to help pay expenses for my son if she wants to be a stay-at-home mom? I'm engaged to marry Beth, and we've been talking a lot about money. Money is not an issue because we both work and make decent money. I also have an 8-year-old son named Tanner from a previous relationship and have full custody. Beth said she didn't want to be on the hook for Tanner's expenses, like extracurricular activities or private school tuition. I said I totally understand and it's reasonable. She then said that if and when we have kids, 99.99% chance we will have kids if we marry, then she'd want to be a stay-at-home mom. I said that would put a lot of pressure on me as the sole financial provider. I might have to get a second job, and worst of all, Tanner would be devastated that my time went from his getting 100% to now sharing it with a wife, new kids, and another job. In that arrangement, me and Tanner would have to sacrifice more than anyone. Beth tried to say it was a sacrifice for her too, but I quickly shut that down by pointing out that being a stay-at-home mom is a luxury and working 2 jobs isn't. I told her the only way it would work is if she worked part-time to ensure that Tanner could still go to private school, have his extracurricular activities, and to keep his babysitter around so that Tanner still has a guy to take him out to do guy stuff if I can't. Unfortunately, that might mean that you don't get to shop or get your nails done as often as you like. But everyone gets something, and everyone sacrifices something. She said that was outrageous, and I said we can't stop negotiating after she gets what she wants. I said if the roles were reversed, I would take it in a heartbeat because I'd gladly be a stay-at-home dad over going to work and having the sole responsibility of being the sole provider. Am I the a-hole?
Woo! We had a real conversation, huh? Oh, that's what I'm hearing in this story. Look, I don't think it's ever acceptable for one partner to throw it all on the other. Especially when you're talking about this financial climate. Having one sole income is a burden.
Oh, yes.
And to think that it's acceptable to say, well, you can just get 2 jobs and then have no work-life balance is horrible. There's nothing more important, I believe, in life than balance. We can work hard. But we can also share time with our family and friends. And I'm happy at least there's couples out there that can have conversations like this. It is very important. Now, all right, yeah, does he have a way of starting that conversation that doesn't sound great? Yeah, but I think he did a good job of explaining and showing to her that, yes, if I'm going to take on this, you also have to accept that other things have to change about our life too. His son's not going to be spending as much time with him. You're not going to be able to go out and buy and do a bunch of stuff that you believe you are still doing today because you do have dual incomes. You only have one child. Life does look different. But if you're adding another child or two, because he says 100% certainty, I mean, there's 99.999 that if they do get married, they will have children. And it wasn't singular, it was plural. I mean, I got to believe, maybe I read that, or maybe I heard that.
No, you
wrong.
heard it correctly.
Okay, so life will change. As you get more kids, you do have to adapt to that.
Very true.
That's just how it works. But I think he was more than in the right to have shown her that. I understand what he was trying to convey. It's just there's better ways of doing that than making it feel as if you're telling everyone who does stay at home that it's easier than working. That being said, there are different degrees of how hard that is for everyone. Because I've heard many times where if the husband is the one staying at home, it's really easy because there's not a whole lot of pressure that they were used to based off when they were working whatever jobs they were. They're allowed to have that feeling. I've seen it where women are the ones making the bread and going to work, and it's easier for them than staying at home with their kids. Everyone is built different, right? You have to adjust to those things. But what I'm never going to be okay with is looking at someone saying, guess what? In order to keep everything the way it is today, you have to take on 2 jobs to make sure that happens. You have to have no work-life balance. And for your girlfriend to not believe or to not accept that life changes from day to day, right? You have to make concessions every single day. No day will ever be the same as today. But for some reason, she believes that tomorrow, when you guys have a couple kids, that life is going to be exactly the way it is today? That this is the standard of living that she is going to come to expect and will demand of you no matter what you have to sacrifice? Unacceptable. He is correct. In a partnership, when you have a bunch of kids, even if you only have one or none, the load has to be shared equally. The fact that she's already putting parameters around what she will not and will pay for in a relationship with a kid that she's getting into is a little sketch to me. Now I get it. It's her money. She can do what she wants with that money. I'm not saying you owe that child that's not yours all of the hard-earned money you've made. But what I am saying is the fact that you've already drawn clear lines in the sand of what is yours and what is his and what you're going to be responsible for. I wouldn't enjoy that in a relationship with someone. I'm not saying you owe me your money that you're working for to pay for my kids' private school and all of those things.
But to split those expenses, I think would be fair.
Again, every relationship is different. You're allowed to have that. But for me, that just kind of sends up some...
And mind you, I would just like to preface this by saying split the expenses once you're married.
Yes.
I think in this part of their life where they're just fiancé and they're getting to know each other, that's different.
I understand staying at home is difficult for some people, but taking on 2 jobs should be something that unfortunately a lot of people have to deal with just because of their circumstance. Not even with kids and holding up a big family. It's sometimes what people have to do just to survive. So I would never recommend you doing that just 'cause. I agree. She should be pulling at least a part-time job if she wants to keep up with the luxuries that she's dealing with today. Why are you not an onus to make sure that happens too? So I guess for me at the end, I'm going to say that I think everybody sucks. ROP sucks because if you're even entertaining the notion of having someone else be okay with taking time away from you and your son, family, doesn't really matter who it is. If you're okay with allowing someone else to do that in your life and taking an L like that, I think you should step back and reassess your life and what's important. That would be the only reason why I would think he's the a-hole. But for your girlfriend to not expect that things need to be handled with balance and fairness in a relationship, and to think that it's okay to tell someone that they have to take on 2 jobs in order to support the family that you guys are creating, I think is ridiculous. So yeah, I think both of you at the end need to reassess this relationship period, because you could be steering into something that none of you want. It sounds like you don't want this future, and it sounds like for her, she's not willing to see that there's going to have to be sacrifices made to make sure that you guys can reach this vision.
So the consensus on Reddit was actually pretty mixed between you're the a-hole, not the a-hole, everyone sucks here. So for the you're the a-hole parts, it was honestly the fact that our OP wouldn't try and place their child first, and for downplaying what being a stay-at-home parent really is. The not the a-hole was for making sure that everything has the ability to be covered, especially when you're starting a family. Let me go ahead and read one of the not the a-hole Redditor comments that I think summarizes some of the questions that I had, some of the concerns that I would have when it comes to being faced with this argument. This Redditor said, not the a-hole. Excuse me? Your fiancée, someone on paper will be in your son's life permanently, told you upfront that she doesn't want the responsibility to providing for him, but will personally change her lifestyle to dote on any biological children you have with her, and you're fine with this? You are Tanner's only parent. What do you think will happen even if she agrees to work part-time? Tanner's half-sibling will obviously be favored, and he will be neglected and unloved all throughout his childhood. Did she even consider what would happen to Tanner if you started working 2 jobs? Did you? He would have 0 time and attention from you, and you know for a fact he will receive none from Beth either, who will have her hands full with the baby, her real family. You better be crystal clear about how much she actually cares about your son before you marry this woman. You are his only parent. You cannot afford to fail him. By the way, I hope Tanner's biological mother is paying child support. That one comment sums up how I feel, because this Redditor is very right. Tanner has only one person on his side, truly, and it's his father, because we don't hear anything about a mother that's in the picture, or how it is that they can fix and deal with expenses and how child support can help cover stuff. We don't hear any of that. What we hear is you're going to have to work more and spend less with your child. That, for me, I don't think is something that I would ever sacrifice. You only have a finite period with your children when they're growing.
It disappears very quickly.
And I must say, there are many that find being a stay-at-home easy, and some who think that it's more difficult depending on the duties and expectations.
Yeah.
And how well you deal with your workload, that also depends on how easy that is for you. And let me just put this in as an example. I work in finance. I find that so easy. I love it. It's what I'm good at. But it doesn't mean that everyone is good at it. And talking in absolutes like OP did, I think is very wrong. Might being a stay-at-home be easy? Sure, it sounds like it possibly could be. Might every decision require a sacrifice? Yes, but I think that there's something to be said than to say, I can do what you do. That's easy. A lot of people can probably see my work, and for some might be very easy, and for others it might be very confusing. I find it very difficult to remember to change the loads over in the laundry. Timstradamus, you are so on point with your time management and how you structure things. It's one of the things I am so grateful for, because I remember being single and before you, I would forget that I would have a wet load of laundry in the washer, and it would get that stinky smell. And I'd hate it. And I'd always be like, why can't I just remember? Move it over. It was one of the things that when you helped me with, it was like such a thank you. Now I don't have to deal with the clothes that smell that really weird smell because you had to put the detergent in again while it was still wet smelling.
We help each other when it comes to things that we're not as proficient in, but the same as I might be able to switch over the laundry. I hate hanging and doing all that stuff, and
that's easy.
That's where you pick it up
yeah,
from.
I love doing that. Because for me, if something takes a long time for me to wait on something else, it becomes difficult. It's like my mind jumps to a bunch of other things, and it's probably why I've always been a good cooker and not a good baker, because with baking, you have to wait between them. And I can't tell you how many things we have enjoyed where I've over dried the cake. It doesn't mean that I haven't tried and that I don't care.
I mean, you've gotten way better. Your cakes are good. What are you talking about?
Over time, yes. But the thing is, I've had to learn, and it hasn't been easy for me. I like to do things right off the get-go. And for me, finances is that puzzle and or do it right now sort of venture where I feel like a lot of chores, sometimes you have to wait. You know, you mop the floor, then you have to wait for it to dry, and then you put some other weird coating, and it's too much for me to think about. I want to just get it done right then and there. I don't want to have to wait till later. And for some people, they might find those chores easy. For me, the fact that I have to wait for another time to complete another task is tedious. Some things are easy for some, other things are easy for others. You should never talk in absolutes and say, just because I find it easy, I do it all day. You should be able to find it easy. You can do it all day. That's not fair.
Hopefully they're able to figure out a middle ground on all of that. I mean, they're about to get married, so hopefully they have the communication skills. It sounds like at least they've been able to broach the tougher subjects. So now let's iron it out and really understand the expectations of this relationship going forward. And if you can't meet in the middle, please do yourselves a favor. Find people that do fit those expectations and what you want in life, because you can't accept not spending time with your family or having the balance that everyone needs.
I must just add to this as well, and maybe this will be a bit harsh, but I think it is a harsh truth that many people should probably hear. You should always make sure that your necessities are met before you think of luxuries like hair and nails. That is a luxury, and that is not a necessity. And if you are arguing your points as something as frivolous as nails and hair versus the care of a child, I think your priorities are skewed.
Yep, and that's why I say reassess that relationship.
Well, let's go on to our very last story and see what you think about this traumatic event. Today, I fucked up telling my friend that he was about to die. Gave my friend a ride home from the dentist. Friend was high as fuck and seemed to be super susceptible to manipulation. Decided to exploit the situation to pass the time on the road. Asked my friend if he remembered the attack. Friend had no idea what I was talking about and instantly became paranoid. Explained that a face hugger attacked him. For the record, face huggers are fictional creatures from the alien movies that wrap themselves around the face of a person and orally impregnate said person with an alien that eventually grows inside the human body until it's big enough to burst through the chest. Friend freaked the fuck out and asked how long did he have before the alien was gonna, burst out of his chest. Less than 10 minutes, I said. Friend said he was gonna call his girlfriend to tell her how much he loved her. As far as I knew, he was not in a relationship, so I was really keen to see who he was going to call. Friend made the call. Someone answered. Friend explained to the unidentified person, who was apparently his girlfriend, what was about to happen to him, and then expressed his love for the last time. When the call came to an end, I asked my friend why he never introduced me to his girlfriend. Friend became even more emotional at that moment and said that he didn't have to introduce me to his girlfriend because I lived with his girlfriend. What my friend was saying was that we were in a relationship with the same person. In other words, my friend confessed to being romantically involved with my girlfriend. What convinced me that my friend was telling the truth was when his so-called girlfriend called him back less than 30 seconds later and he put the phone on loudspeaker. My girlfriend, aka our girlfriend, was on the phone and she wanted to know what the fuck my friend, who she called baby, was talking about during their previous phone call. Friend made my girlfriend aware that she was on loudspeaker and that he was in the car with the other guy she was sleeping with. I said, "Hey, baby." My girlfriend hung up the phone as soon as she heard my voice. Friend apologized repeatedly and implied that my girlfriend initiated everything. I informed my friend that nothing was going to burst out of his chest and that he had nothing to worry about other than the strong possibility that our friendship might be over. Friend checked his chest several times before he finally seemed to accept the fact that he was indeed alien-free. Dropped my friend at his apartment and left him with his roommate. Got home, called my girlfriend, arranged to meet. Meeting happened. Girlfriend came clean about cheating on me with my friend and explained that she somehow loved both of us the same way. Made it clear to her that she no longer had to share her love between two guys because I was tapping out. Girlfriend cried. I did too, but not in front of her. Made one stupid joke and my whole world turned upside down. The fuck? The too long don't read? Friend left the dentist high as fuck. Convinced him that an alien was about to pop out of his chest. A harmless joke, I thought. Friend decided to call his girlfriend to tell her that he loved her and that he didn't have long to live. Found out that his girlfriend was actually my girlfriend, whom my friend has been seeing behind my back. Friend, still thinking he was living out his last moments, confessed to cheating. Girlfriend confirmed it. Now I have no girlfriend and no friend.
What a devastating, funny story this was to end us off with today. I find it hard to believe that the cheater in this situation, the girlfriend, wouldn't know who was dropping off her boyfriend, especially if he's getting his wisdom teeth removed. I'm not certain what procedure he was going through, but he said he was very high. So I find it hard to believe that the girlfriend wouldn't know who was dropping him off or picking him up. And especially when you're a cheater, you're very aware of circumstances. If your other boyfriend is saying he's dropping someone off from an appointment at the dentist, and then your other boyfriend happens to say someone is dropping me off from my appointment at the dentist, she didn't put those two together. I just find this whole story a little off in that aspect because cheaters normally check their boxes. That's all I'm trying to say.
Unless she just wasn't a good one. And it could be that all of their relationships are fairly new.
All I know is it's pretty scummy for your friend to have accepted a relationship when he knew you were dating that girl. That's a bad friend. In my mind, that's a lot more hurtful than any boyfriend or girlfriend you bump into. There's a lot of skeezy ass people, but your friends should be the ones you can trust.
I agree.
So I guess at least you know who you can't. That's a good place to start, but he says that he had a good cry after all of that, so that sucks.
It's one of those hard things because OP, yeah, they lost both a friend and a girlfriend. It's hard enough just to lose one or the other, but to lose them both at the same time. And in one of those ways, man.
You know, when you were explaining it and the story was rolling along, I thought that maybe the friend had said it was someone he lived with. So I assumed that maybe he was talking about like his mom or something like that, or his sister. But I was expecting that story. Not, by the way, the only girl that's living with me is my girlfriend. You're dating my girlfriend.
It's a second relationship where people have been able to keep it on such the down low that people didn't know. At least today.
You know, if you're going to be that type of person, why not just be honest about what you're doing in life? Why does it have to be at the cost of someone else? I can never understand why people choose to go about it like that. At least be honest. And if they can't accept that about you, then you're in the wrong relationship. That's all that means. I mean, really think about this story. The guy who's cheating on his friend with his girlfriend is also asking that very friend to drive him in a very vulnerable situation. You don't just go to anyone. You ask someone you trusted that much to have your back at a time where you needed it.
Well, I just hope that if the story is to be believed, because of course anything on the internet should be taken, you know, one way or the other. And for us, we take these stories all seriously, even if there is that chance that it might not be. The one thing that I can say is I hope that this does not warp our OP into not being able to trust his friends that he still has, or allow it to warp his vision. I guess not really vision, but his perspective on future relationships as well.
I agree. Hopefully he's able to move on from that traumatic event. You're right. Do not let that type of thing jade you. But unfortunately for so many of us, our perspectives do get shaped by the experiences that we have to go through in life. And sometimes we don't get the help we need. Well, was that our last story?
That was our last story.
I get the funniness of the alien thing, but it all got taken away from me when the other shoe hit the floor.
Be careful of how you joke, apparently.
Or the friends you pick.
That's true.
Again, I'm not even upset with the girlfriend for being a cruddy person. I'm more upset with your boy not being your friend, dating someone that you were dating, and then asking you to drive him when he needs help. It's a foul person. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry at your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We regularly post on Mondays and Wednesdays. And on Fridays, we have our Damas After Dark episodes.
It be where we be.
Yes, it do. We would also love to thank all of our Teatrians for all of your continued support.
Yes, we love and appreciate every single one of y'all. And as always, listeners, we look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. What did you think about the stories today?
Using someone's trauma as a joke is not funny.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.
Alonze.